Welcome back. All right, so in an odd step, the preview is not the first video of the day. It is the second, and we have 9 games tonight. So nice busy night. It is a full night. The first game starts at 7 o'clock Eastern. The last game starts at 10:30 Eastern. So when the trade takes place this morning, and of course when I wake up I see it, and then I have to give it about an hour after I wake up, because if I do a trade video right after it happens and I've just woken up, there will always be those comments in the comment section, which are I'll say they're not flattering comments, so I've stopped doing that. There was a time where I would rush to make that video, and then the comments would just be awful. So I had to wait until I was awake this morning, and so here we are now with the preview, probably a little bit later than normal. And we got 6 games that are starting at the time that normally games start. Last night they didn't start till 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, so that was weird. And tomorrow it's going to be similar. They don't start until 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. We have 6 games starting at the same time tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. So right out of the gate, and you know, people ask, well, how many games do you follow? I can follow 6. I can try to follow 7. Past that, it's not possible. So at 6 o'clock, there's 6 games starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific, starting with Detroit and Boston. Detroit 4-4-2 on the season. It feels like it's starting to slip, right? And we knew that Detroit was going to have a hard time staying in the playoff hunt. The Atlantic's pretty stacked, so once other teams in the Atlantic start playing better, it's going to be tougher for them. Boston 4-3. I'm still waiting for Boston to really get on a roll here. They will meet 3 more times. November 30th, January 2nd, and April 5th. So these teams are going to get to know each other well. For Detroit, they're scoring 2.9 goals per game. They're allowing 3.4. Boston's only scoring 2.43 goals per game. They're allowing 2.86. So the goals against hasn't been bad. The goals for needs to get better. So Boston needs to score some goals. We'll see how things go for them against a team in Detroit that has allowed some goals. Also at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are 5-3-1, and it feels like they're starting to become the Tampa Bay Lightning again. And against the 5-4-1 Maple Leafs, who are starting to look like the Maple Leafs that were expected before the season started. And so, yeah, this should be a fun game. 5-4-1 Leafs above 500. They'll want to stay there. Tampa Bay is going to want to keep improving their record. And this is the first of 4 meetings between these teams. They will meet again on December 9th. They will meet on April 4th and April 21st. Tampa Bay has scored and allowed 3.22 goals per game. Toronto scored 2.5 goals per game. They've allowed 2.9. The good news for Toronto is in the last game, Matthews and Marner both found the net. Marner ended up with 3 points. They're going to want to continue that tonight against a Tampa team that's starting to look stingy defensively. So we'll see how this goes. This may very well be the game of the night. The Islanders in against Montreal starts at the same time. The Islanders 3-2-2. Their huge road trip continues. And again, if they can come out of this road trip with a decent record, watch out for them when they're playing a lot of games at home in that brand new arena in front of large crowds. The Montreal Canadiens are 3-8. And it feels like the last game was them turning a corner. And now we'll find out. Because, of course, they've beaten Detroit twice out of their 3 wins. The Islanders have scored and allowed 2.43 goals per game. The Montreal Canadiens have scored 2 goals per game. They've allowed 3.09 goals per game. That number's got to keep getting better. This is the first of 3 meetings between them. They will meet on December 20th. They will also meet on April 18th. At 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, Eichel's new team takes to the ice against a team that's been rebuilding for a while and believes that rebuild is done, but both teams have underachieved so far. Vegas 4-5 in large part because of the injuries that they've been going through. Ottawa 3-5-1. And yeah, I mean, Ottawa, it was a rough road trip, but now they're home. We'll see how things go for them. Vegas isn't scoring enough. They've scored 2.22 goals per game, but they're also allowing 3.33 goals per game. For Ottawa, they're scoring 2.67 goals per game. They're also allowing 3.33 goals per game. This might be a game that has some goals in it. Also at 7 Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, the Washington Capitals in against the Florida Panthers. This should be a very good matchup. Now, for Washington, they've only lost 1 in regulation out of 9, or they've won 5 out of 9. One tells you they're playing really, really well. The other one says, well, they've played well enough, right? So This is the first of 3 meetings between these teams, all of them existing in the month of November. They will meet on November 26th and November 30th as well. None of the matchups tonight have played each other before now, so this is kind of fun. For the Capitals, they're scoring 3.56 goals per game. They're allowing 2.44. That's an excellent differential there. For Florida, ridiculous. 4 goals per game, and they're allowing 1.89. That is some insanity right there. 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, the Flyers and the Penguins, as we get the first of 4 meetings between the Pennsylvania teams in this rivalry. December 23rd, January 6th, and April 24th are the other 3 dates where these teams will meet one another. For Philadelphia at 5-2-1, it's been a very good start. They're scoring 3.5 goals per game. They're allowing 2.5. A little more trouble scoring the last couple of games than in previous games, but again, it's early in the season. For Pittsburgh, they're 3-3-2, 3.25 goals for, 3 goals against. Of course, they're without Crosby, they're without Dumoulin, but they've been without so many players throughout the season, and I that doesn't seem to affect the results. That doesn't seem to make that big of a difference into whether they win or not. So we'll see how that goes. Then we have a 2-hour break before the next game starts, which is Dallas and Calgary. So for Dallas, they're 3-4-2, and they're having problems scoring goals, that's the storyline. Calgary 6-1-2, very good. I will say this: they didn't end up getting the player in Jack Eichel. I don't think they wanted to upset what's been a very good start for them. So they're 6-1-2 on the season. They're scoring 3.44 goals per game. They're only allowing 2 goals per game. You bring in Eichel, he won't be ready to go for quite a while. You're going to have to give up somebody to get him, and there's a lot of risk there if you're Calgary, right? On the Dallas side, 1.89 goals per game, 2.78 goals against per game. That 3-4-2 record, they've got to get that better. They've got to win tonight. These teams will meet 3 times. This is their first meeting. Their next meeting is just before the Olympic break, which is February 1st is their next meeting. The Olympic break is right after All-Star Weekend that month. April 21st will be their last matchup of the season. Easy for me to say. Then at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific, the Buffalo Sabres and the Seattle Kraken. So what's interesting is you've got all these games starting at the same time. They will all wrap up before Buffalo and Seattle drop the puck. So I'll have a lot more time to dedicate to the last 3 games of the night. A lot more notes likely on these games. Got to watch that. Buffalo 5-3-1 on the season. It does feel like it's starting to slip away a little bit. I don't think that's why Eichel gets traded now. I think they just had to make that move, right? Seattle 3-6-1. And yeah, I mean, they've been out goaltended the last couple of games. On the Buffalo side, 3 goals per game. They've allowed 2.44. Seattle has scored 2.5 goals per game. They've allowed 3.3 goals per game. The second and final meeting between these teams will be November 29th. So this is the first ever meeting between Buffalo and Seattle. And by the end of this month, they're done with each other for the season. This is a decent test for Buffalo as to see whether or not they can defy gravity longer and they can continue this good start, or if it's going to start to really fall off. If Seattle beats them, that could be a sign that Buffalo's falling out of the ranks of the top teams in the Atlantic, right? Then at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. That's right. It's a late review tonight. The St. Louis Blues, who are 6-1-1 after getting that second one last night. That game against LA was dynamite in the third period, the overtime, and the shootout. San Jose 6-3, and they're going to have probably a pretty ornery team out of St. Louis. St. Louis is scoring 3.88 goals per game. They've allowed 2.13. San Jose scoring 3 goals per game. They've allowed 2.44. So San Jose is playing very well. This is the first of 3 meetings. They will meet again on November 18th, and then they meet on April 21st. So they meet right near the end of the season. And, of course, these teams have met in the playoffs a couple of times, too. So we'll see how things go tonight. Should be interesting. Let me know in the comment section below your winners, all that other wonderful stuff. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.